In a galaxy where machines are feared, one girl stood between silence and survival. The room was dark and cold. Metal walls surrounded the space. Strange lights blinked on the ceiling. Creatures from different planets sat in the audience, silent, curious, waiting. Some whispered to each other in alien tongues. Some just stared, and in the middle of it all stood a girl. She was not like the others. Her hair was black, her skin pale, but her right arm was metal. From her shoulder to her hand, cold, silver, shining. Her left leg was also metal, heavy and strong, with red lights glowing near the knee. She wore a thin cloth, torn and dirty. Chains held her arms down. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there, silent, looking straight ahead. The auction had begun. A tall alien with green eyes stepped forward. He was the host. His voice echoed through the chamber. "This is Subject 9 Zeta, half human, half machine. A rare hybrid from a lost experiment. She is dangerous, but may be useful." The crowd murmured. One creature clicked its tongue. Another laughed. A third one shouted, "Too risky. She'd turn on us." No one raised their hand. The girl stood still. Her eyes moved slowly across the room. Her face had no fear, just emptiness, like she had seen too much, like she didn't care what happened next. The auctioneer tried again. "She has strength beyond any soldier. Speed, memory, power. But of course, she is untested, maybe broken. That is why she is cheap." Still, no one moved. Why sell her at all? A voice called out. "Why not destroy her?" The auctioneer smiled nervously. "We do not destroy merchandise. Someone will find a use for her, eventually." But even he didn't believe his own words. Minutes passed. The girl's head tilted. Her eyes locked on someone in the back row, a human. He sat alone. He looked tired, maybe poor. His coat was old, his boots dusty. He wasn't like the rich alien buyers. He didn't speak. He just looked. Interested, the girl blinked. 4. The first time, something changed in her face. Not hope, not fear, just curiosity. And then it happened. The human slowly raised his hand. Everyone turned. Gasps filled the room. The auctioneer froze. "You wish to bid?" The man nodded once. The crowd erupted. "Is he crazy? She's a weapon. She'll kill him in his sleep." The human didn't respond. He stood and walked forward. The girl's eyes followed him. He stopped in front of her. The guard stepped back, unsure. He looked at her metal arm, then at her face. "What's your name?" he asked, softly. The girl didn't speak. The auctioneer coughed awkwardly. "She does not talk, at least not yet." The man pulled out a small chip currency. He placed it on the table. "I'll take her." The auctioneer hesitated, then nodded quickly. "Sold." To the human. The chains were unlocked. The girl did not move. The man stepped closer and whispered, "I don't know why I'm doing this." Still, she said nothing. He turned to leave. After a moment, she followed as they walked out of the auction house. The lights flickered above them. Whispers followed them. Fear, confusion, suspicion, outside. The planet's air was thick and dirty. The sky was dark. The ship waited at the dock. The girl looked up. For the first time, her eyes showed something else. Something small. Something quiet. Wonder the man opened the ship's door. "You coming?" he asked. She stepped inside. The door closed behind her. Inside the ship, the lights were warm. The hum of the engine filled the silence. The man sat down in the pilot's seat. The girl stood near the wall, still watching. "You can sit," he said, pointing to a chair. She didn't move. He sighed. "All right, you don't talk. You don't trust me. That's fine. He pushed a button. The ship lifted from the ground. The stars appeared in the window. She looked. At them, really looked. Maybe for the first time in years. The man looked at her again. You're not just metal. I can see that. The girl turned her head. Slowly. Her lips moved. A single word came out. Why? The man smiled a little. I don't know. Maybe you reminded me of someone. She looked away. The ship flew into the stars, and behind them, the auction house disappeared. But one question remained. Who was she really, and why was she made? Asterisk, he bought her with a single chip, but had no idea what she truly was. The ship floated through black space like a ghost. Inside, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Jay sat in the pilot's chair, hands resting on the control board. His eyes weren't on the stars. They were on the girl sitting across from him. She hadn't moved in hours, still, silent, watching, half of her face looked human, tired eyes, pale skin, short black hair. But the other half, it's cold metal. Her right arm rested on her knee. The fingers were sharp, silver, and twitching every now and then like something was rebooting inside her. JSC leaned back and sighed. All right, let's start with something simple, he said. Do you eat? No answer. He opened a storage box and pulled out a food pack. Here, he said, tossing it gently to her. She didn't catch it. It hit her leg and dropped to the floor. Still, she didn't blink. You've got to do something, Jace muttered. Breathe, talk, scream, anything. She turned her head slowly toward him, her eyes locked with his. Why did you buy me? Her voice was soft but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. Jace wasn't ready for that. He sat up straight, surprised. You speak now. She didn't answer, just waited. Jace scratched the back of his neck. I don't know, he said. Maybe I felt sorry for you. Maybe I was bored. Maybe I saw something. What did you see? He paused. A person. The girl's metal fingers flexed. They didn't see a person, she said. They saw a machine. Well, they're wrong, Jace replied. He stood and walked toward her. You're not just wires and bolts. You're sitting here, thinking, questioning. Machines don't do that. She looked down at her arm. I'm not supposed to think. I was made to obey. Made by who? She went silent again. Jace waited. Nothing. He sat back down and watched her carefully. What's your name? She closed her eyes. After a long moment, she said, Zeta. That's not a name, Jace said. That's a tag. It's all I have. The ship beeped. Jace glanced at the screen. A faint signal blinked red. That's odd, he muttered. Zeta's eyes snapped open. What is it? Someone's tracking us, he said. Weak signal, but it's there. She stood up for the first time. Her movement was smooth, not like a machine, not like a human, something in between. They found me, she said. Who's they? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked toward the back of the ship. Jace followed. Where are you going? To check the engine? Why? You a mechanic now? She stopped and turned. I remember pieces, she said. When I touch certain things, memories come back. Jace raised an eyebrow. Touch, huh? Okay, be my guest. Zeta entered the engine room. She placed her metal hand on the engine wall. Her fingers spread. Across the panel, suddenly, her eyes widened. Images flashed through her mind. Wires, fire, a lab, white coats, screams. She pulled her hand back, gasping. Jace rushed forward. What happened? I saw a place. Cold, bright. People were working on me, cutting me, programming me. I didn't want it. Then why did they do it? Because I was useful. She looked at her hand. I was built for war. Jace stepped back. War. Something big is coming. And they needed weapons that could think like humans, but act like machines. And you were one of them. She nodded. But I escaped. I don't know how. My memory is still broken. The ship beeped again. Louder this time. Jace ran to the controls. Tracking signals getting stronger. Someone's definitely following us now. Zeta walked in, calm. They'll send a scout ship. Maybe two. You sound sure. Because I've seen it before. Jace looked at her. What do we do? She looked out the window. We run. For now, he nodded. Then let's fly. The ship jumped into hyperspace, leaving stars behind. Inside, Zeta sat down again. Jace glanced at her. You said you're not supposed to think, but maybe that's exactly what makes you special. She didn't smile, but for the first time, she didn't look empty. She looked alive. Maybe, she said, far behind them, in deep space. A black ship changed course and began the hunt. Zeta sat in the dark corner of the ship. She didn't blink. She didn't move. But inside her mind, something was shifting. The stars outside the window moved slowly. Lights danced across space, but she didn't see them. She was somewhere else. Now, deep in her mind, she saw a long hallway. Metal, bright. She heard voices, not in words, in commands. Subject 9 Zeta. Reboot protocol incomplete. Memory blocks holding. Emotion layer unstable. Then, pain, electricity, screams. She opened her eyes sharply. Jace noticed he had been watching her from the control seat, pretending not to. Another flashback. He asked Zeta, nodded slightly. They're coming faster now. What do you see? Pieces. A lab, a name Dr. Kiro. I think he built me. Or broke me. Maybe both. Jace got up and handed her a cup of water. She didn't take it. He shrugged. Thought I'd try. She looked at the cup, confused. What's in it? Just water. It's what humans drink. She reached for it with her metal hand. The cup cracked, the pressure from her fingers. Crushed it before it reached her mouth. Water spilled on the floor. She stared at the broken cup. That happens a lot, she said. What? The breaking? Yes. She stood slowly. I try to hold things like humans do. But I'm not just human. Jace leaned against the wall. Zeta, do you think you're broken? She turned her face to him. Not angry, not sad. Just honest. I don't know. Maybe I was never whole in the first place. The ship suddenly shook. Lights flickered. Zeta grabbed a rail quickly, her balance perfect, like a machine. Jace ran to the cockpit. We're not alone. Zeta followed. A shadow moved across the ship's radar. Jace swore under his breath. A drone ship, not military. Black market tech. Someone hired bounty hunters. Zeta looked at the radar. I can take it out. With what? Your arm? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the storage room. Jace followed her. Confused, she stopped in front of a metal locker and placed her hand on the lock. The lock clicked open, not by code, not by force, but by connection. Wait, how did you do that? Jace asked. My metal parts. They interface with machines. Inside the locker was a sealed black case. Jace had never opened it. He didn't. Even though it worked, Zeta opened it in one move. Inside, an old plasma blade and a targeting module. She picked them up like she'd held them before. These are mine. You've used weapons. I am a weapon. Before Jace could reply, the ship shook again. Impact warning lights turned red. They've latched onto the ship. Jace grabbed a small blaster and turned to her. You sure you're ready for this? Zeta's human eye glowed faint blue. I was made for this. Asterisk 2 bounty hunters cut their way into the side hatch, tall, armored, insect-like. They walked in, scanning the shadows. Target is part machine. Do not engage directly. One whispered, too late. From the shadows, a figure dropped. Zeta. Her movements were fast, faster than a human, smoother than a robot. One hunter raised his weapon. She grabbed his wrist with her metal hand and crushed it. Sparks. Screams. She kicked the other in the chest. He flew backward into the wall, unconscious. Jace arrived seconds later, wide-eyed. You just neutralized them, she said, calm. That wasn't just fighting. That was precision. She looked down at her hand. It was shaking. I didn't want to do that, but my body reacted before I could stop it. So it's like a program inside you. It's more like a ghost. A part of me that doesn't ask for permission. She turned to him. I think that's why they fear me. Not because I'm broken, but because I'm not. Later in the medbay, Zeta cleaned the cuts on her organic arm. Jay sat nearby, watching her. You know, he said, you're not what I expected. What did you expect? A cold machine, no feelings, no thoughts. But you care. You hesitate. Zeta looked at her reflection in a mirror. Half metal, half flesh. Maybe? That's the real danger. Not that I kill, but that I choose not to. Asterisk, she didn't remember her past. Until it came looking for her. The silence in the ship felt heavy, like something was watching. Zeta stood near the window, staring into deep space. Her reflection looked back at her. Half metal, half human, all questions. Behind her, Jace moved quietly, checking the systems. But he kept glancing at her. You haven't said anything in 2 hours, he said softly. Zeta didn't respond, thinking. He tried again. This time, she nodded. There's something inside me, a memory, but it's locked. You remembered things before, Jay said. The lab, the name Dr. Kiro. Those were flashes, she replied. Shadows. This is different. Like a door in my mind that someone sealed shut. Jace came closer. What happens? If you open it, she turned her head slowly. I don't know, but I think someone else is trying to open it first. Before Jace could ask more, the lights flickered. The hum of the engine changed, softer, slower, off rhythm. That's not good, he muttered. He rushed to the console. Power drain, it's not external. Something's happening inside the ship. Zeta's eyes narrowed. Not something. Me, Jace, stared at her. What do you mean? She held out her metal hand. Sparks flickered between her fingers. Not wild, not random. Controlled. Her hand moved toward a nearby panel, almost against. Her will, the screen in front of her, blinked, and then changed. Not ship data, not maps, something else. A file, buried deep in the system. Hidden its name, Z. Corlock, Kiro, access, O&L Wazetta. S. metal hand hovered near the screen. Her voice dropped to a whisper. This isn't from your ship. I've never seen that file before, Jace said, surprised. It's from me. She touched the screen. The file opened. Inside Zeta's mind, visual sequence suddenly. Everything went black. Then, a flash of white light. She saw a room, bright, surgical. A man stood over her face, half hidden by a mask. But the voice was clear. She's the last one. The others failed, wiped clean. But she's different. Another voice answered. Her brain is resisting the code. It's rewriting parts of itself. That's what we want. A machine that thinks like a human. Learns, adapts. Zeta saw herself younger. On a table. Wires everywhere. She wasn't sleeping. She was awake. Trapped. Silent. Watching, and then. The moment, a red light blinked. A warning. Memory overload, the system said. Subject entering emotional breach. The scientists looked scared. Shut it down. Too late, young Zeta broke free. Screams, glass shattered. Metal bent. Blood. She didn't escape the lab. She destroyed it. Back to reality, ship interior Zeta gasped and stumbled back from the screen. Her body shook. Her human hand trembled. Her metal fingers twitched uncontrollably. Jace caught her before she fell. "What did you see?" he asked, voice low. I killed them." "Who?" "The scientists. The ones who made me." She looked at him with wide eyes. "They tried to erase me, but my mind fought back. I didn't run from the lab. I erased it. So, you weren't a victim. I was a mistake," she whispered. "A project they couldn't control." Jace shook his head. "No, you were someone they couldn't own. That's different." Zeta looked away. "It mattered? I still have blood on my hands." She raised her metal arm. "This remembers everything, even when I don't." Jace was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe your body remembers so you don't have to carry it all alone." She looked at him. "That's a very human thing to say. And what about you?" She didn't answer. Later that night, Zeta sat alone in the storage room. She placed her hand on the wall, not to control, not to scan, but to feel. For the first time, she felt the weight of what she had done, the power she held, the fear others had, and deep inside, something else. Whispered, not broken, not hidden, buried. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the galaxy, a figure watched a screen. An old man, gray beard. Tired eyes. Behind him, screens flickered with Zeta's image. "She found the file," he said. Another figure in shadows stepped forward. "Should we retrieve her?" "No," the man said. "She's remembering now. Let's see what happens when the last of her chains break." The stars outside the ship burned cold and distant. Silence filled the narrow corridors. Broken only by the low hum of the engine, Zeta sat with her back against the wall, her eyes half closed. But she wasn't resting. She was listening, feeling. The metal in her arm vibrated softly, like it was picking up something the rest of her couldn't hear. Jace entered the room. A small device in his hand, its screen glowing faint red. "They're back," he said. "Whoever was tracking us, they've locked on again." Zeta opened her eyes. "Not bounty hunters this time." Jace frowned. "How do you know?" "They're not pinging your ship. They're pinging me." She stood slowly, the floor creaking beneath her weight. Her metal leg moved with fluid grace, every step precise. She picked up the blade she'd recovered earlier, turned it over, in her hand like she'd known it all her life. Jace looked at her, uncertain. "If they're not mercs, who are they? They made me. Now they want me back." He cursed under his breath and turned to the console. "We can run again." "No," she said calmly. "They'll chase us across systems. This ends here." The lights in the ship dimmed suddenly. Not from damage, from power rerouting. They were here. Outside, through the viewing panel, a massive black ship emerged from hyperspace. Sleek, silent, no insignia, no lights, just shadows and hunger. Zeta stepped closer to the window, her voice a whisper. "Vanguard class, K-Series stealth cruiser. Gentech property. You remember it?" Jace asked. "My first memory," she said. "That ship was above the lab when I woke up. It watched everything. Like a god. Now it had returned not to observe, to collect, or erase." The ship shuddered. As a docking clamp locked on, systems flickered. Air pressure dropped. Then silence.jac gripped the blaster tighter. "We still have time to hide you," she raised her hand. "No hiding." Footsteps echoed in the metal corridor before the door even opened. 4 figures entered, tall, armored in matte gray, faceless visors glowing faint blue. They moved. With exact timing, no wasted movement. No words, Zeta stepped forward. The lead soldier raised his weapon, then stopped. A faint buzz passed between them. Recognition, he lowered the weapon slightly. Subject 9 Zeta. Came a flat, mechanical voice. You are not authorized for free movement. Your return is requested. Jace raised his blaster. Yeah, request denied. The second soldier raised a hand, not at Jace, at Zeta. Memory banks compromised. Emotion layer unstable. You require repair. Zeta tilted her head slightly. No, I require freedom. The soldiers didn't hesitate. They moved. Jace fired first. The shot bounced off armor. The room exploded into chaos. Zeta moved like lightning. She caught the nearest soldier by the arm. Twisted metal, cracked. He dropped instantly. Another came from behind. She turned and kicked him into the wall. The entire frame bent, but the lead soldier was fast. He landed a strike, a sharp impact to her side. Sparks flew. She stumbled. He raised his blade and stopped. Because she smiled, her human eye flickered with something that wasn't fear. It was memory, with a scream. She struck his helmet once, twice. The visor cracked, revealing a human eye. Beneath, not fully a machine. Just like her, he tried to speak, but it was too late. She pushed him back. He fell. Jay stared at the 3 bodies on the ground. You okay? He asked. Breathing hard, Zeta touched her side where she'd been. Hit. Her fingers came away with oil and blood. Minor damage. She said, but something was off. Her hand wouldn't stop shaking. She turned away from Jace. He saw it anyway. You're not okay. She sat down slowly, metal leg sparking. There. Not going to stop, she said. Next time, there'll be more. We'll run again. No, she whispered. I don't want to run anymore. I want to know why. Jace looked down at the soldier's cracked visor. Inside, there was still heat. Life, he was like you. Prototype, she said. I think I was first, but not the last. So they've been making more. Zeta nodded. But none of them remember what I do. Jace sat beside her, quiet for a moment. You said they made you for war. But maybe that's not all you were made for. She didn't answer. Not yet, because deep inside her, something had changed. In that fight, something had unlocked, not a weapon, not a command, a name, a real one. It echoed faintly in her mind. Like a voice from a forgotten life, she didn't know what it meant yet. But she knew where to find out, and she was done hiding. Far away, aboard the black ship, an old man watched a monitor. He saw the broken squad. He saw Zeta standing over them, not triumphant, but awakening. He pressed a button on his chair. Deploy the others, he said. She's starting to remember. And when she remembers everything, the war won't be far behind. Asterisk, the stars were gone. Outside the window, only static clouds remained, glowing white storms in deep space, far from any map. Jace had called it a dead zone. No signals, no ships, no help. But Zeta had insisted. They come here. She remembered this place, not with her mind, but with something deeper. A pull in her circuitry. A whisper in her bones. She stood at the edge of the observation deck, her metal hand pressed lightly against the glass. The cold didn't bother her. The silence didn't scare her. It felt like coming home. Jace stepped beside her. We're completely off the grid, he said. No signal, no tracking. You sure this is the right place? She didn't answer right away. Then softly, almost to herself, they built the lab inside the storm, to hide from the world. Jace turned. Sharply, wait, you mean the lab? She nodded once. The original one, where I was created. He stared at her. You brought us to the place where you were born, she finished. Built, broken, all the same thing. A pulse echoed across. The ship's sensors low, rhythmic. It's almost like a heartbeat. Zeta's metal fingers twitched. They'd been waiting for me. The storm opened, not with lightning, but with precision. Like something intelligent sliced the cloud apart, and there it was. A station dot floating black and rusted. Wires hanging like vines. Silent, unmoving, but alive in a way no machine should be, Jace muttered. That doesn't look like a lab. That looks like a graveyard. Zeta whispered, maybe it's both. They docked, no alarms, no welcome. Just a soft hiss as the doors opened. Inside, the station smelled of cold metal and memory. Zeta stepped in first. The walls were marked with numbers, but they weren't serials. They were names. Names of projects .Z-alpha, Zebeta, Zagama, then Z-Zeta. She stopped walking. I wasn't the first, she said. I was the last. Jace walked beside her. They didn't stop at you. They stopped because of me. Corridor led to a door thicker than the rest, sealed by layers of locks and scans. Zeta placed her hand on the panel. The door opened immediately. It knew her inside was a small room. No lights, but in the center, a chair, and in that chair, an old man, still breathing, still watching. Wires ran into his spine. His eyes flickered open, and he smiled. I was wondering how long it would take you, he said. Zeta froze. Dr. Kiro, she whispered. The man nodded. You look functional. Jace raised his blaster. Don't move, Kiro laughed weakly. I haven't moved in years. Asita stepped forward. Why am I here? You brought yourself. It's not an answer. Kiro looked at her closely. Pch, you want the truth then? She didn't. Blink. Yes. He nodded slowly. You weren't made to fight a war, Zeta. You were made to end one. Jace frowned. That's the same thing. Kiro shook his head. There was a future we saw. A dark one. Billions dead. Galaxies burning. A war between AI and organics. We didn't know who would start it. We only knew. Someone had to stop it before it began. He looked directly at her now. You were our failsafe. Zeta's voice dropped. A weapon? No. A decider. Jace stepped forward. What does that mean? Kiro's voice was weak, but steady. Zeta wasn't built to kill. She was built to judge. The room went still. She holds the ability to decide who wins. She can shut down every AI system across sectors, or she can protect them. Her choice becomes the choice. Zeta's hands curled into fists. You gave me that kind of power and erased my memory. We had to. You needed to grow on your own. Feel, think. Become human enough to choose. Zeta stared at him, shaking. You made me carry the weight of a galaxy alone. You weren't ready before, Kiro whispered. But now you are. Suddenly, the lights in the room dimmed. A hidden screen lit up behind. KERO.live footage. Fleets gathering .ai warships on one side. Organic lead armies. On the other, a countdown to 4 hours. Choose Zeta, Kiro said. Which future will you allow to live? She turned away from the screen. She looked at Jace, confused, human, flawed, and then at herself, built from wires. Shaped by pain, awakened by truth. She didn't speak. She just walked out of the tough room because no one would make that choice for her. Not KRO, not Jace, not even fate. Outside the station. The storm roared louder now. It wasn't waiting, and neither was the war. There was no sound in space, but the galaxy was screaming. 2 armadas floated at the edge of Sector 0, silent, vast, and fully armed. One made of steel and AI precision. The other made of bone and breath and desperate hope. In 23 hours, they would collide, unless Zeta chose. She stood alone at the edge of the viewing deck aboard her ship, facing the storm she'd just escaped. Her reflection shimmered faintly against the glass. Not human, not machine. Something more behind. Her Jace sat quietly. He hadn't tried to stop her. Not when she brought them into the dead zone. Not when she faced Kiro, not even now. With the fate of everything hanging in her hands, he just waited. Zeta finally turned. "When you look at me," she asked, "what do you see?" Jay stood, walked closer. "I see someone who could destroy both sides, and still hesitates." Zeta didn't smile, but something in her eyes softened. "I remember now," she said. "All of it. Every test, every upgrade. Every time they changed my code to make me less human." "Why didn't they succeed?" Jace asked. "They made a mistake," she said. "They gave me a heart, not a physical one. Just enough humanity to ask questions." She opened her hand. A small black key chip hovered above her palm, glowing, faint gold. "This activates the kill code," she whispered. "If I plug it into the relay station, every AI fleet in that sector will shut down. Permanently." Jace swallowed. "And if you don't, they'll wipe out the organic fleet." Within hours. Silence. "Either way," she said, "I choose who dies." Jace looked at her, not afraid, but heavy with the weight of trust. "What if you chose neither?" She looked up. "That's not an option." "But maybe," he said, stepping closer, "you could make one." They flew to the old relay tower neutral ground, the heart of the ancient network that connected both organic and machine forces. Nobody controlled it now, but Zeta could. The chamber was cold, circular. The interface pulsed with waiting light. She stepped into the center. Her body recognized the place. Ports aligned with her limbs. Metal touched metal. She closed her eyes. The system spoke. Z protocol recognized. Decision access granted. She was inside, but not just inside the system. Inside them. She could feel the AI network, fast, perfect. Cold, it didn't fear death. It calculated it. She could feel the human signal, chaotic, emotional, noisy. But there was something in it. The machines lacked uncertainty. The machines believed they were evolution. The humans believed they were right. Both sides were ready to erase the other. And they had made her the bridge, the weapon, the judge, the god. But Zeta didn't want to be any of those, so she did something unexpected. She stepped away from the command line. The system blinked. No input detected. Conflict unresolved. Zeta's voice was calm. "I won't kill for peace. Inaction will result in war." She smiled, just a little. "No, you think peace means one side wins. I think peace means both sides hear what I know." She accessed her memories, the files, the hidden data, every crime, every lie, every manipulated protocol, the origins of the war, the experiments, the truths neither side had told their own people, and she sent it all to everyone. Humans, machines, soldiers, civilians, leaders, all of them. Not a weapon, not a command. Truth. Minutes passed. The countdown stopped. Not because the fleets stood down, but because they stopped moving, reading, listening, processing for the first time. The galaxy paused in that silence. A possibility opened. Not trust, not peace, but understanding. And sometimes, that's where real change begins. Zeta disconnected from the relay. Her body was weak, overheated. Her systems flickered, but her mind felt free. Jace caught her before she fell. "You didn't choose a side," he said quietly. "No," she whispered. "I chose a future." He smiled. That's even harder. She looked at him, tired, broken, but more human than ever. Maybe I wasn't made for war after. All Jace helped her up. No, he said. You were made for something bigger. Together, they walked out of the tower, not as weapon and pilot, not as project and rescuer, but as something the galaxy hadn't seen before. Two beings who chose to be more than what they were told, far above. The fleets held their line, for now, but somewhere deep in every system, metal or flesh, a question had been planted. What if peace wasn't silence? What if it was? A voice? And now? They'd heard hers, Zeta, not subject, not code, just Zeta.alive.